Hey, welcome to Paragliding Banter, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode. I'm very happy to have Rohit with me today, who is my friend and my flying buddy, and we've been flying together for a long time. I'm sure you've heard him on the previous episodes. Welcome, Rohit. Welcome back to Paragliding Banter.
Hey Sajid, good to again be on the show.
Awesome. Okay, Rohit, I want to get straight into memory that we had together long back in Bilaspur. Once, if you remember, we had gone to Gurpreet Dhindsa's theory class. We just happened to be there, and he invited us to sit in for one of the classes. We didn't have anything else to do. We were very experienced pilots at that time. We've been flying, we've been doing beer, and we knew the theory, right?
Grand
And
2 years of experience, you
how
mean?
many years of experience?
Grand 2 years of experience, I say.
Yeah, but we were flying beer, and we were doing. We
Yes,
had gone
yes.
through our theory and all that. We were independent pilots, but we sat for that particular class. And what I remember is both of our eyes becoming wide and jaw dropping because we have never heard a theory class so nice. So one of the things that I remember is that he told us that imagine a paper plane. He didn't tell us. He was telling the other class. We were just sitting there, and he said, imagine a paper plane and imagine three rubber bands holding it, one stretching from the top and pulling it up, the other one from bottom and pulling it down, and one in the front pulling it ahead. Now the pressure on all of these is constant, so the aircraft remains in the center. But if you cut one of this elastic band, what is going to happen to that aircraft? So we both said, okay, if we cut the drag, suddenly, it goes up and moves forward a little bit. Now, this kind of experience, this kind of knowledge, this kind of explanation was never, we never imagined it that way. So it was a fantastic thing. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, spot on. I mean, the whole class first time exposed me to the whys of it. We all have learned our basic theories as in the handbooks, lift, drag, thrust, and we have that picture in the mind. But the why of that is something that I repeatedly have seen over the years, learning from Gurpreet. I mean, every time that we hear, maybe we are just hanging by a blue umbrella and sipping the coolest kombucha that I ever had. Uh, uh, we often focus on why of things, and that's the really the pursuit of the understanding, and then applying that becomes quite easy when you have the concepts already in your head. So
Very
that's
clear.
something
Yeah,
really started on that day, frankly.
right. And this was, you say kombucha because Gurpreet Dhindsa, or GD as we all call him, has got his restaurant at the near landing in Beer. And he also runs a school called PG Gurukul over there, which teaches students. And yes, if you ever go to Beer, please have a glass of kombucha that he makes over there. Why don't we do one thing? Why don't we call this person who has been flying since 1993? He started with a sailplane and then started paragliding in 1995. He's done over 60 competitions and he has several podium finishes. Let's call Gurpreet Dhindsa to this banter. What do you say?
Let's get the man.
Hey, Gurpreet, welcome to Paragliding Banter. You have Rohit and me here today.
Hi,
Hi
JD.
Sajid, Rohit. Yeah, my pleasure to be here again.
We were just
Thank you
talking
very
about
much.
the kombucha.
That's kind of you. The
uh,
kombucha remembers you too, I'm sure.
well, to
Well,
tell, yeah, go ahead, GD.
I say it's alive after all.
Correct. So, just to put this in perspective, Rohit has just come back from Beer. He was there for a few days. I couldn't manage it this time, and you had a good. There has been some flying experiences over there this season, this spring season, which we want to talk about. But first thing, we want to talk about an incident that we both experienced. Rohit, do you want to talk about that?
So overall, I mean, we have been hanging with Gurpreet, learning probably the finer details and intricacies of flying. But how Gurpreet, as a teacher to some of the young pilots learning from P1 to P3, there's a very interesting incident that I remember. October time, be full, before all the COVID shutdown, of course. At any point in time, there are like 100 plus, 150 plus pilots taking off. And all this is smelly Gurpreet. I mean, I landed early, packing, and I could hear Gurpreet guiding someone. Throughout the guiding course, he moved from Red Temple to Dam Range, and from there to Big Face, which is one of the most, I would say, big or the most super thermals up there. And in the middle of that thermaling, Gurpreet just radios the person saying that, yeah, you look good. You have been doing absolutely bang on. And I think it's time to cut the umbilical cord. And I'm going to switch off my radio. You are doing fine. Just enjoy, be safe, and see you at landing. And he really switches off the radio. So that tells me very
So the
interesting
student was
incident.
flying under his guidance, and he went all the way from the takeoff and reached Big Face, and then he saw the flying style, and it was his student, and he just said, you're good, and he just cut off the radio.
Seriously, and that strike me the kind of confidence as an instructor now he has in his student, really understanding the core concepts, applying them. He could see his probably the finer details, how he's handling falling out of an entry from the thermals, the pitch roll. When he's definitely at certain level, he as an instructor was so confident that he could say, you know what, you're done, right now we are ready to start being an independent pilot. And that was a very interesting experience for me to watch as somebody who has been flying around.
So Gurpreet, the question that we both
Hmm,
have then is, where does this confidence come from, and how do you let go a student? So we really want to know that. That's just amazing. There's a follow-up question on that,
um,
so that's the reason we picked this up.
First of all, I would say that I'm touched by the depth of the observation, and even I didn't put it in such words as you guys are putting it. I think the main difference here in this particular case you were talking about, or you're about teaching thermaling and cross country, is that I do not guide people. I teach them how to do thermaling. I teach them how to do distance by themselves. So there's a difference. If you're guiding, you're making other person dependent on you. And when you're teaching cross country, so I do not think guiding is teaching cross country. It's okay leading by example, but enabling a person to do something by themselves takes a little bit more than just guiding, I think. There are a lot of concepts to be taught. The whole model of a thermal, like we have gone over some thermaling lectures with flying stories with you also, we had some discussion. So it's same things that I did covered in flying stories, particularly the same things I teach, but over multiple lectures. And I not only teach them, I see the student execute them. And I know that when they're doing all the individual skills right, then they can make the composite also pretty nicely. And I guide them a little bit so that they can put these different skills or concepts together. And then even on that day, you might have heard me switch it off, and the student might have heard me thought that it's switched off, but I'm very sure it was switched on pretty much soon after, just to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that
So,
that
Sure
that I
about
did
that.
that I did see that you did turn it back on, but to give somebody that confidence in you. And I also have seen you once at the takeoff in Beer, where you've told a student like, listen, you're doing very well. You've given the motivation, and you've also told the student, listen, just follow this, what you've been doing. You've been doing right. Now I want you to report back to me from 4 ridges away. That's a confidence. Of course, you're keeping an eye on them. You have the radio on, but uh, you know the reason why we're asking you this is it's all about confidence. It's all about knowing what you're doing, right?
yeah, it's. I have a system and I have steps, and if I execute them thoroughly, then I have the confidence. Or the student also, it's two-way street. So now I execute them. I try to teach that way. Student follows it, and if both happens, then I have the confidence in my system to kick my students out. Actually, I generally tell people that I kick my students out. I don't keep them in school. You'll always see fresh students in my school. You won't see old students hanging around much. To the extent that I'm like angry duck chasing the chicks away. I'm sometimes I'm rude with them and I ask them to fly on their own. Some understand a few years later. But yeah, I get them to cut the cord and go away and fly on their own. Yeah.
So what would you say is needed? What do you see in your students that they've achieved? Because this is applicable to people who are just out of the school, who are flying, who have been flying different sites. We'll come to beer flying in a bit. But what is it that you see? What does that person see in himself that they need to know, okay, I am confident enough?
Hard to say. I mean, I've never thought of it that precisely, but I think everything starts from the day one. I believe that when it's P1, P2, I'm teaching them how to take off and land, then I should be teaching them how to take off and land. I should not be enabling their takeoff and then enabling their landing by remote control. Even in like today, we finished with one group day 3 of ground training, and I was telling them that idea is to shut us up. So I always tell my student that you have to shut us up. If I don't say anything, you succeeded. So from day one, I'm asking them to do each exercise to the precision that I don't have to say anything. So I'm deliberately removing myself from the equation at each step. And these steps, if done far enough, lead to thumbeling also. So it's one step at a time. It's not one thing. It's not just about thumbeling skills only. It's from the day one.
That's a very valid point. That's a very good point, actually. I never thought about it that way. If you can make your instructor shut up, that means you're doing things right. And
Exactly.
it's about knowing why, like Rohit put it.
Yeah, this sentence is repeated in my school almost every day. This is what we tell students, that their target is to shut the instructor up each day.
Okay. Rohit, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's what I've seen. So what I'm going to lead that is now so many students coming in spring season, and there are a lot of equations other than takeoff, landing, cross country. There's a lot about weather, a lot about understanding the days. So my question is, if let's say it's not your student, but you new student coming in B, what would you ask those pilots to be confident about, or how to identify if they need to work on something before they can keep them flying safely in the mountains here?
That's a very big question, actually, or like so, this is a small question with very big answer. Recently, I didn't have positive experiences with taking up students from other schools or people who have self-learned even, or even like not just other school from outside BEER, even from within BEER. Reason is same, like my system is so much different. Like I said, each day I ask them to shut us up. So I qualify a student when they have reached that level in each step. So like when somebody says that they want to come in for learning tumbling, then I expect them to covered all the P3. They should have good takeoffs, that is P2, good landing, good pre-flight checks, good preparation, confident preparation, not going over same thing over and over again, some at least basic evaluation of weather and wind, and pitch control, understanding of deflations, and then I can teach them thermaling. I'm just going over like broader things. I don't know.
Right.
So my problem is when students come, and I don't blame them. They've been given, let's say, P3 certificate, so they think like, okay, thumbeling is next, so they want to enroll for thumbeling. My problem is, where do I start with these students, and how do I convince them that they need to go back and improve on certain things without disrespecting the schools that they come from or the systems they come from, or to make them feel bad about it. Because see, for a new person who doesn't know me very well, just coming to my school and me asking them like, oh, I need to improve your takeoff skills. And they feel like I'm trying to charge them again for something they have already learned. And that becomes a little tedious. So my idea with these kind of thing is that I think it's nowadays I'm doing with all the students is I try to send them away first, once, maybe twice. And if they still insist and they trust or they think highly enough of my teaching method, then they're willing to make the sacrifice of their self uh, evaluation or their dignity and humble down enough to take some rebuke from me and some harsh treatment also that comes with learning. Um, when I see that kind of what do you call it, like shagirdi spirit is the nearest word I can find.
Or the
Then
sensei
only
willingness.
Yeah, willingness to humble down and learn. You have to, like they say, you have to raise your hand palm upwards to receive something.
Right.
You have to humble down, right? So it's not just about like me, because to correct them, I need that kind of thing. If they are going to be skeptic, there's no way I can change the system. And honestly, they come from systems where they've just been treated very honorably. They've been treating like clients, and I don't treat them like clients. I treat them like students, and that creates a big problem sometimes. They're used to being served by their sirs. So that is not going to happen in PG Gurukul. So that message should be out there very clearly, that it's a totally teaching environment, and I will decide where they start from. They can't dictate that they come here for thermaling, so they will go straight from thermaling. Maybe I bring them down to ground training again or something. So if somebody wants to correct their system and then grow, then I can work with them.
Yeah. So,
but otherwise,
so if you, I need to put in something over here of a personal experience. When Rohit and I came to see you in Bilaspur many years ago, you said welcome, and then the first thing that you said is, I know you guys are flying, because we told you we've been flying for some time. And you said, I want to see a clean takeoff and I want to see a clean landing with a good approach. And Rohit and I were looking at each other and saying that we've been flying beer, dude. What's with this? And we've been flying in Kamshet. We've been flying for so long now. I mean, 2 or 3 years, but still. And we said, okay, so we need to show a clean takeoff and a clean landing. And I remember taking off at in Bilaspur, and Jyoti was there. And Jyoti, I got the glider up and I was kiting it on Bilaspur, and he just looked at me. He said, "Why aren't you going?" I said, "I'm going." And then you said, then he radioed back to you. He said, "GD, we have something to say about this pilot." And you asked him only one question: is it positive or negative? He said positive. He said, "Okay, that we'll discuss later on." And that was it. And I had to request permission from you on the flight down. Is it all right if I do some wingovers? And you said, if you know to do wingovers, that's up to you, but I want to see a clean landing. So I understand how strict you are. Rohit, do you remember that?
I think we were also doing a qualification. And first line when we met him, he said, it's in Hindi. Let me take that. Koi bhai bandaki nahi chalegi. I'm going to be very strict with your qualification and evaluation, which has been the case.
So we have got a taste of what you're saying, GD, is what we were trying to tell you. And
believe me, if anything, I'm only harsher than before.
Oh God. Okay. Anyways, you've let out now, after this episode airs, you have let out your secret that people have to come to you for more than 2 times to get enrolled. So now you might want to change your criteria.
Well, it's not about times, it's about the spirit.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right. So, GD, the reason why we've been asking you these questions and talking about your style of training is just to form a base to our major important question that we have. This season in Beer, There are a lot of new pilots who have come. I won't say new pilots, but I would say people who have flown one season before, maybe in October, maybe there was a pandemic gap in 2020. Not much happened there. So people
Yeah.
have come back after a year, 2 years, and some people who have trained in other parts of the country and felt that okay, Beer is the place because that's what they've heard, and they've come to Beer to fly in these conditions. And we have seen about 4 incidents that I remember in the last month or so in Beer, and all with pilots who have been flying for some time, also pilots who are new and learning as they go with the incidents, which should not happen. My Our question then is, what do you think about this, and what should a pilot do to be ready to fly in Beer? What are the key things to watch out for or be ready? Rohit, if you want to add anything to the question.
Um, I mean, basically, apart from our basic skills of active piloting, having the right concepts, the SIVs, I mean, we talked about those criterias, but there's a lot more about understanding the terrain, be it the weather conditions. So there's more that one needs to understand to keep things safe, especially in spring. And that's the view we are looking to get from you, Julie, for our listeners.
Um, Flying Beer, I mean, besides the basic skills you said of piloting and takeoff and active piloting, actually, most of it is basic skills only put together. And as far as weather, knowledge of weather and discussion on weather, I think in last 2 years, 3 years, um, Indian paragliding community has gone manifold in understanding particularly lapse rates and soundings and weather forecast systems. A lot of people are making good forecast, and there's a lot of information available through the groups um, or through discussions on takeoff also. Like Jigish is here, Sajid is posting online what he thinks of Beer weather, even if he's not here. I am available. That's So I think information is all available. Only thing that needs is to put your skills in perspective when you're attempting something in Beer. Like today, like yesterday, one incident, he admitted himself that he got a tunnel vision. He was just fixated on numbers that only so many kilometers left, and then I'm at my target, and he was just focused on numbers. And this kind of thing is, um, I mean, he lost the perspective. That's what I'm trying to say is that you need to keep perspective of your skills and weather condition and not become so focused on a particular number of kilometers or anything. Whole point is to have um, a safe flight that you can do in that day's condition, not just with previous day's number or somebody else big flight or something like that.
And that too, without taking names, he's a fantastic pilot. He's a good pilot. He's flown with us. He's part of a group, and
only
still,
only reason I've taken name is that I think he won't mind that I'm
yeah,
using him as
yeah,
example. Yeah, he has a good sense of humor, so
yeah. He became a celebrity
I'm
yesterday.
banking. Yeah, for sure.
He people asked him for an autograph because of the incident that he had. He actually landed on a tree because the weather became strong, the wind became strong, and he was safe. Nothing happened to him. It's just that an experienced pilot could also get tunnel vision, like you explained. So
Yeah,
so Beer could be not a same condition that you are where you learn flying, whichever part of the country that you learn flying, but Beer is a different beast altogether. And
even like say spring in Beer this year is not the same Beer spring as previous 3 years. This much harsher spring we are having this year, so um, it's not the same. It's same mountain, but the conditions are so much different this year.
right, and one of the important things which I have been harping on most of the episodes that I've been doing on paragliding banter is about the community. Like we form a community here in Kamshet where we regularly fly, but the same people also fly in Beer. And I was very happy when recently last week we had a call of all the people coming together and saying that, guys, hold up, we are seeing too many incidents happening. But that time I think we had 3 incidents, and the community said, let's have an informal meeting. And they all sat down. I joined through Zoom, and a few others. I mean, you, GD, you also were there on Zoom, and we did discuss on what this could be for newer pilots and what they should fly. We had a little chat, and I think that's also very important. Pilots could come and speak to senior pilots or people like yourself who are always available for discussion.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
that's what I would like to clarify here is that even if I say no to taking somebody for thumling that year, or um, people think that I run a school, I want to convey here that I am available still for any kind of advice, any kind of discussion. As a co-pilot, I'm not just a school owner. Though I make my living from teaching, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to charge for every question I answer or anything. I always been and always will be available for any kind of questions. Or as a co-pilot, I mean, as a co-flyer, it's not always commercial for me.
That's right. That I agree, because I remember coming to you last October, very pissed off with myself, and coming and speaking to you, and you had a little chat with me. You probably didn't know why I was there, and I explained to you why I was there. And I said, no, just try this, you'll be fine. I mean, that was a lot of motivation that I needed, and that was something that sometimes you need to go and you have a little chat. You could be down that day. I see so many pilots, for example, let's take the example of Viz. Rohit and I were talking, and we've noticed a few things. Although knowing him for so long, we've just noticed a few things, that he chooses the day, he chooses the people that he goes up with, he chooses the discussion that he wants. He probably doesn't hang too much with me, because then he doesn't want to hear me talk about the things that I talk about, like, this happened, that happened, so it's important to have the right frame of mind, and a little chat could
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
clear a lot of
Totally.
things. Rohit?
Uh, it's very individual. I believe for a guy like me, it's the why is very important for me to move on. And some certain pilots can just quickly move on, saying that, yep, that was the situation, I handle it. And for them, it's a next big adventure. So I think there is a different way of coping with the stress, also with the flying, or understanding or improving our understanding as we go. And
Like,
I've always found GD. I mean, you just have to hang around the blue umbrella. There are very good pilots, very experienced pilot, and you have some doubts. You have live comparison of the same day. There's a tremendous learning that happens just by hanging around.
yeah,
Uh,
so just for clarification, Blue Umbrella is a cafe run by GD, and that's where everyone hangs out. And you're right, sorry, go on, Rohit.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't keep things within you. Even the shortest doubt, whatever it may sound stupid, don't be shy to ask it. You'll find everyone around the table will jump on to explain. Sometimes too many people will jump on. That's a problem as well. But we still have the referee in the crowd, GD sitting in the corner there.
That's true. That's true. And
Uh,
like, I also learn from a lot of things, and one of the other pilots that I learned from is Jigish, who has been there and flying alongside, and a lot of wealth of information available with him. And he does not. He's a good guy. He just talk to him, and he'll give you explanation and sit down with you. You need to ask. You need to go approach people and say that, listen, this is what I feel. And in fact, what I feel, honestly, GD and Rohit, is that when anyone new is going to fly in Beer, you just cannot just go up and take off. I would rather suggest, talk to people before you come, and spend one day at the landing, do some kiting, talk to GD, talk to Jigesh, talk to Alok, talk to so many other pilots over there. Just figure out what it is like and what I should do, and take smaller steps so that we avoid the incidents that we have had before.
So in short, Sajid, it's more soaking in, right? Don't rush to the thermals and connecting multiple thermals to your XCs and chasing after everyone is doing 30, 40. I should also be doing. Rather, really soak in the whole learning, make it a muscle memory before you move on.
Exactly.
Is
Let me give your example then. You went to Beer for a few days. You had to come back for your personal reasons. But in those flights that you had, you didn't attempt to go beyond a certain comfort level of yourself, right?
Uh, I believe every time I come to beer, first couple of days goes in adjusting to the rhythm of all the moving air, especially in spring. Even though I've been many times in beer October, reasonably simpler. Uh, but after a few years, when I wanted to start going spring, I was keeping away from spring for at least 2 to 3 seasons. I chose to get myself help with enrolling myself to Debu's course. So I went with Debu few times, and through that I could correlate what Debu sees, what I see, and what the day is, and his decisions, how to keep myself safe. So take the help, take the additional help with the local experts, paid or advice from other pilots. That will keep you in the safe learning zone rather than trying to learn everything on your own and learning through the mistakes. Some of those mistakes can be very expensive for you.
Yeah, and I remember from that call, there are two things that are really important. One is to get yourself a tracker, and the other one, the way things are going at this moment, a tree rescue or at least some dental floss to carry around so that you can at least get the rope. What do you think, GD?
We have a tree rescue kit available with us. If they tell us, like, say, 10 days in advance, then we can have kit ready. We also have done some workshops with self-rescue from trees, teaching people how to guard down safely if there no rescue arrives or something like that. But yes, you should get a tracker for sure. If you don't have a tracker, at least get some app which will transmit your data. If the GSM signal is there, there will be blind spots, but at least there will be some information. Um, and like you guys pointed out in the beginning of the this discussion was that why of things. So go more into why of things, understand more the concepts, and of course learn how to apply those concepts.
Right. That's what was the ultimate finding aim and discussion of the discussion that we've had, and it's important. So our submission to all the new pilots or even experienced pilots who are coming in is just have a little acclimatization. If you've seen the previous episode with Matt Wilkes, it was just brilliant on the things that he said, that in any mountain you need 7 days of acclimatization for your body to get used to the oxygen level, and your decisions are based on how clearly you think. So it's very important, don't just rush to fly. Spend some time, get your kit sorted out, buy a whistle, get yourself a pen knife, get yourself a dental floss roll so that you can put that floss down in case people want to send a rope up to you in a tree, in case you're stuck in a tree. Tracker, of course. There are simple things that we can be prepared for when we go to beat, instead of just rushing up and taking off and feeling the strong thermals. So yes,
I just want to
that's
tell
yes.
the listeners a fun story of a pilot that I know who first time arrives in Beer, and the taxi that's supposed to take him to the Hotel Surya, he asked the guy to take him straight up to the takeoff in the evening. And we have a host who is infamous for that.
That was
So,
not me, but I remember the first time I came in to be, this was exactly what happened, and I kept the bags and they said, come on, get in. I was like, where? Take off. I said, really? They said, yeah, come on, get into the cab. So I was like, okay. I took my glider, got into the cab, we went up, and I remember standing at the takeoff over there in the evening and asking, where's the landing? And they kept pointing out. I said, that's the landing. I said, where? I can't see the landing. He said, there. And I just couldn't see it for a long time because I had never, I had never flown that high before. I had not been to 2,400 meters before in my life. And I just couldn't believe that this is a takeoff. So it was very daunting, but yeah, you're right. You need to, these things
So you
happen.
admit that was you.
No, it was not me. Actually, yeah. You have to believe Rohit to come up with these stories, man.
Name of the show is Paragliding Banter, man. Come on. I can't let you that easy.
So Sajid had a full 7 minutes of acclimatization.
Yeah, full 7 minutes. And I remember going up in the camera like, wow, this is so high. I've never flown so high before. It was crazy. It was luckily a top to bottom flight. But yeah, so Beer is a different ball game altogether. But how's it looking, GD, today? Is it going to be better in the next few days? You got one more month of flying?
Let's see. Next 3 days don't look so good, but then maybe.
Okay. So most of our listeners now are rest of the world, which means 55% of our audience is from out of India, mostly US, Australia, Spain, UK, Germany, Canada, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, lots of places. So I'm sure they've been wanting to come to Beer because last year and a half they've unable to travel. So as soon as travel opens up, I'm sure a lot of people would come in.
Maybe you can arrange some Russian subtitles. Will make it more popular.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we are really missing all the international pilots here in Beer and in India. And so whenever it opens up, GD is there. You can contact him. There are a lot of other people if you want to connect with him. And his school's name is PG Gurukul. Or you can write to me on email sajid@gmail.com, and we'll connect you guys if you need any local help, local information, local flying information. We're always here for you. And we're also here for the pilots who are coming from any part of the country in India. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with anybody in Beer who's been a regular flyer. You can always head on to Blue Umbrella, which is the cafe next to the landing, and you'll find Gurpreet over there. You can also enroll for courses over there at PG Gurukul. There are other pilots in Beer. There's Jigish, who's extremely a good flyer, a good pilot, and a lot of wealth of information with him.
Sajid, he also started guiding now under paraguide.in is his link.
Yeah, I just spoke to him, and we are going to do an episode together also on that.
Super.
So that's all there, guys. So feel free to connect, and we'll be happy to help. I want to acknowledge Sachit over here. Sachit, who everybody knows is also available at Camp 360, and he has just redone the artwork for Paragliding Banter. So the new artwork that you see on the logo is done by Sachin. Sachin, a lot of thanks to you, my friend, for organizing this and helping us spread love and knowledge in the community. All right, GD, Rohit, thank you very much for being on the show. GD, this is the second time you're here. Your first episode was very popular, and a lot of plays happened on that. So thank you so much for taking out the time and being on this. Rohit, my friend, when are we flying again?
Tomorrow? Why not?
Tomorrow? we are in lockdown. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sajid. Thank you.
And this year. Okay, bye, Rohit. Bye, GD. Bye, guys. See you on another episode. Bye-bye.